Ray Ronan and Jenny Kelly will be on for a chat, and of course one of you at home will hopefully win the wheel. But now some of us collect stamps, others collect shoes, but one Ballina man became obsessed with collecting items from Irish history. And here to tell us all, we have Yvonne Corcoran Loftus. How are you keeping?
I am fine, Donald.
Good,
how are
you're
you?
very, very welcome all the way from Ballina. Now,
Thank
tell
you
us
very
all about
much.
Jackie Clark. Who was Jackie Clark?
Jackie Clark was born in Ballina in 1927, and at the age of 12 he was sent to Blackrock College in Dublin. And it was actually in Dublin, when he was in Dublin at this time, that he actually got a love for Irish history.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't all school for Jackie, I'll be honest with you, because Jackie's wife Anne did tell my colleague Anne-Marie that when he was in college in Dublin, he used to skive off school a little bit, and he used to go down to the quays.
Yeah.
And it was down at these quays that he used to meet up with a lot of the book vendors and that. And that's where he got such an interest in Irish history.
Yeah.
Now, like that, he was interested in all parties.
Yes.
And he wanted to collect
Just history.
history,
Irish history, that's
history.
what he wanted.
He met a lovely gentleman down there by the name of Joe Clark.
Yeah.
Now, Joe Clark wasn't related to him, but Joe Clark took him under his wing because he saw something in this young boy at the age of 12, and he thought, wow, this lad
man,
really has
he
something.
knows his stuff, he's going something. Now,
Yeah.
is this his scrapbook
And
here?
this is
Yvonne?
actually his first scrapbook, and it was actually Joe Clark that convinced him to start scrapbooking.
Yeah.
And this scrapbook goes back to 1939, and it is his first
And
scrapbook.
what's inside the scrapbook?
There's everything in it, from social history to religion to sport to, I actually even see something in there about ironing, how you can do different parts of ironing. I was like, what?
He was ahead of his time.
He was definitely ahead of his time. But no, Jackie did scrapbooking, and then he did business. He had a fish shop in Ballina, and he had a young fellow. He got married to Anne, and he had 5 children. I like that. He was a very busy man, so he didn't have as much time for scrapbooking. So that's when he got interested in collecting newspapers.
Okay.
Now, a third of our collection is newspapers. And like we have 100,000
Loads.
items. Yes.
But they're all real pieces of history,
Oh
aren't
my
they?
God,
Now,
it's just unreal.
you have over 100,000 pieces, and you brought a few pieces in here today. Tell us about these beautiful. What are they? Dresses? Or the shawl? What are they?
Isn't this just absolutely
Look at the
fabulous? We've got the dress here, and this is called a brat.
A brat.
A brat.
Okay.
And this is also, we've got the Tara brooch attached to it as well. And this is actually designed of the Gaelic revival style dancing costume.
For Irish dancing, is it?
Yes.
Oh.
And it's not just the artefact, it's the story behind this of a remarkable woman called Linda Kearns. Linda Kearns was born in our neighbouring county, County Sligo, back in 1888. Linda was a nurse, she was an activist, and she was a pivotal figure in the freedom of Ireland. And she'd originally planned on immigrating to Australia, but during the week of the 1916, on that Wednesday, she decided no, she wasn't going to go, and she set up a Red Cross hospital in Dublin.
My God.
But on that same day, an English army officer approached her and said to her she was only allowed to assist the English officers.
Not the Irish.
So she decided, I'm not doing this. She closed it down on that day. She went over to the GPO and she started to help out, do couriering and
So she's in the
nursing.
GPO in 1916.
Yes, she was. Then she was also involved in the War of Independence. Linda actually owned a car. So during the War of Independence, she used to courier the volunteers around the country, and she used to also carry the arms. And it was when she was actually going from Sligo to Ballymote that they got stopped.
They got caught.
She had 3 volunteers and she had a big cargo of arms in the car at the time. She took ownership. She had to take ownership because if she didn't, the volunteers would have been shot.
Yeah.
So she took ownership. So it ended up that she then was brought to trial. She was sentenced to 10 years of penal servitude. So she did spend time in Sligo jail, in Armagh and in Derry, and then she was sent over to Liverpool.
Yeah.
To Walton Women's Prison over there. Now she was actually very sick when she was over there, so she spent most of her time actually in hospital over there.
And what happened to her at the end?
Well, what happened to her in the end, she was sent back to Mountjoy Prison, and you're not going to believe this, but tomorrow, the 31st of October, 103 years tomorrow marks the day herself and 3 other women inmates escaped from Mountjoy Prison.
Oh God.
Yeah, they got a replica key and they got a rope ladder and they got out and they escaped. Imagine.
I've heard this before.
Yes, it is actually an amazing story. We could actually talk about Linda Kearns all day long to go out.
We'll have to come back and talk about that lady again because we've
I do
stuff
think
here
so.
and I
It is
don't
a
want to...
fascinating story.
People will be very familiar with these IRA medals as well. But I want to move on up here, Yvonne, because tell us about this. It's not so much the hat, but the pin on top of it. What is it?
This is actually called a cockade, the French cockade. Now, what in layman terms I would call that a hat badge, and this belonged to Wolfe Tone. And I think everybody...
The Wolfe Tone.
The Wolfe Tone. I think everybody
Yeah.
in Irish history has heard of Wolfe Tone. And I have to say, I do want to mention that we have borrowed this hat, and this belonged to the late Stephen Dunford, and we borrowed this for today's show.
Today.
Yeah, but that is the cockade
And why-
that belonged.
Did you think this would get him out of trouble?
He did, and it should have got him out of trouble because he was an adjutant in the French army.
Yes.
Everybody here in Cork is going to know about the 1796 when they tried to land in Mantry Bay.
That's right, yeah,
And due to 10 days of bad weather, they
Yeah.
didn't actually get.
Yeah,
they
that's
didn't
true.
land, so they
That's
had to go
very,
back.
very true.
And he was actually captured when he was in Lochswilly, County Donegal.
That's right.
It really should have got him off,
Yeah.
but it didn't, and he
didn't.
was sentenced to death. Yeah.
My God.
So he was only 35 years of age.
What a fantastic piece to
Isn't
have
it
in your
absolutely?
collection. My
Yeah,
God.
absolutely fabulous. The French colours.
No,
it's
we
really
want to talk about the first president of Ireland now, Douglas Hyde.
Douglas
Yeah.
Hyde, yes. And what we have here is Douglas Hyde's New Testament Bible. Now, when Jackie bought this at the auction, and we can actually see here,
Yeah.
it was numbered 586, so we still have the lot number there on it. He actually got a buck for his bag, or a bag for his buck
he
here on
certainly
this
did.
one,
Yeah.
because he got his little confirmation slip in
Look
there.
at that.
Isn't
So
it
the original
absolutely
one.
fabulous?
Oh my
And
God.
we
It's
have
the New
children,
Testament
yeah,
as well.
yep.
My God.
Go back to
That's beautiful.
1816. Well, we have the children in, because we do quite a lot of workshops with the kids. They go, wow, it's tiny, because
Yeah.
you know the confirmation slips nowadays, like
Yeah.
they're about an A4 page.
Yeah.
And this is tiny, so
Tiny, yeah.
he was so surprised. His
Yeah.
wife told us he was so surprised when this came through.
That's lovely.
And you have this tiny little slip in there.
All in Irish as well. He was a fluent Irish
He
speaker, of course.
was, and he was the founder of Conor Gael.
Certainly was.
Yeah.
Certainly was. No,
And the first president of Ireland.
that's right.
Yep.
No, can I talk about this because this is quite extraordinary because talk about people being in the room and things being in the room at a certain
Yeah.
time in history.
Yeah.
Tell us about this.
We call this the Treaty Notebook, and this is just actually fascinating.
The notebook.
The notebook.
This is the-
But this was belonging to what we believe is a civil servant. As we know, when a delegation would go someplace, there'd always be civil servants with them. So we believe this was belonging to one of the civil servants. We do say a woman, we don't know, but we do say
Yeah.
that. And you can see here where they did the tally
Yeah.
on the 7th of January 1922.
So the for and against.
The for
For the treaty
yes.
in
And you can-
1922.
And you can actually see here as well where Michael Collins signed it on that night.
And what does it say?
On it, it says, "Let the Irish nation judge us now and for future years, Michael Collins,
Yeah, hold
the
up,
7th of January 1922.
22.
And Mary McSweeney has also signed in there. We have 130 autographs in that book.
Yeah. Who else?
It
Who
is
else in there?
Eamon de Valera is in there.
Eamon de Valera. On the
Mary
other side, of
McSweeney.
course, from Michael Collins as well at the time.
But even to have the
Yeah.
foresight
Yeah.
to bring that little
Of course.
book,
Yeah.
like it's small in substance, but like it's just fantastic to have
Yeah.
it.
Now, Ross Talton, of course, a very famous Ross all around Ireland,
Yes.
and you have a beautiful poster here as well.
Isn't it
From-
fabulous? Again, that's designed on the Celtic revival style, but the race itself, it was an all-Ireland race, and there were 65 cyclists in it from 14 different counties, and this poster was advertising the third section of it
Yeah.
in Ballina. Now the race, as we know, a lot of different events don't go as according to plan. Well, this one definitely didn't go according to
In
plan.
19, that's 1956.
This is
I think.
1956. And it didn't go, this was the third annual race, but it didn't actually go according to plan because when they got to Lurgan it was, they were asked to take down the tricolour from the leading van. And
So
there
they
was-
were in Armagh.
Yes.
They had to take down
So
the
a
tricolour.
little bit of a scuffle happened
Yeah.
there with the police and all that. So the race was stopped. So then they went on a go slow to Cookstown. Worse.
Worse
There was a
again.
big mob there.
Waiting for them.
There was waiting for them. They actually dragged them off the bikes to beat them up, and the guards wanted to take, or the police, I should say,
Yeah.
wanted to take all the tricolours down and all their badges. So there was a huge scuffle. So the race was actually postponed at that stage. And then what they did, they moved on from there by car.
Yeah.
And eventually they started again in Monaghan, and the next stop of the race was Ballina.
Yeah.
Well, Dahi, they got a fantastic
I could only
reception
imagine.
in Ballina because the streets were
Yeah.
lined with people. They actually had a big bonfire,
Yeah.
and it's the Kelly Moor. They had a big Kelly Moor there on that
The back
night,
of it
that
as
fun
well.
off the back of it, which was fantastic. We get people coming into the museum, and they say, "Oh my God, my mum and dad met there."
That's unreal.
Or my grandparents were at that Kelly Moor, like, do you know what I mean? So it just shows you the social side of it, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the story, I always
We
say,
showed footage from that Ross actually last week on the show from the Gilmore collection.
Oh, wow, I
in
didn't even
County
get to- I
Mayo as
didn't
well.
get to see it,
It
sorry,
was absolutely
apologies.
fantastic. Now, just before we go, we have 30 seconds. Where can people go and see these fantastic pieces, Yvonne?
they can come to see it in the Jackie Clark in Pearse Street in Ballina.
In
It's the
Ballina.
most beautiful. And I would like to say, I would like to thank all the team at the Jackie Clark and Mayo County Council, because Mayo County Council that funds this museum.
Do you know, we can see a picture of it there. Some beautiful pieces from the War of Independence to Wolfe Tone to Douglas Hyde to being inside the Room of the Treaty, signed by Michael Collins and
Yeah.
De Valera in the book
Yeah.
as well, and the fantastic Ross Talton that finished
Yeah.
up as well in
Fabulous.
1950. Yvonne,
I
thank you
would
so much.
welcome you to Ballina.
Listen,
I
we'll
hope
go.
you visit us the next
I
time.
have to, because they have over 100,000
Thousand
pieces
artifacts, yeah.
inside there. Thank you so much for coming all the way to Cork.
Thank you very
Lovely
much.
stuff.
Delighted to be here on
A
behalf
whole
of the
lot of
Jackie
fun.
Clark and on behalf of Mayo County Council. Thank you very, very much.
Check it all out, Maura. Over to you.
Thank you.
Thanks.